Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hi, Solomon. Good morning. Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. Thanks so much for taking time out for this.
Thank you so much, Jack, for having me. Super honored.
My pleasure. Solomon, I see that you run multiple businesses, but my first question would be: is this what you always planned to do growing up, or how did you get into the entrepreneurial side of things?
Way to go, Jack. Start with a very tough question. Um, so no, this is not exactly how I thought life would be. I think definitely knew that I wanted to do something different from just working for a bank. Nothing wrong if you work for a bank, but sort of like be more creative, be more hands on. And so that was definitely, I think, that was a choice, right? Everybody has to decide. And so beyond that, it kind of morphed into multiple businesses, Jag, that I never thought I would ever be doing. So like having a software, having engineers. Believe it or not, we have so many engineers now that I never thought that we'll be hiring more engineers than customer service people, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Or being a coach, coaching entrepreneurs. None of these things I think was my plan. I think you see an opportunity, you take it, right? Like if you feel like that's the right thing to do, you don't say no. So that's how it happened.
got it, Solomon. Solomon, marketing is supposed to be one of the most, if you take sales and marketing together, one of the
Yeah,
common things that I come across is sales at least has a way to measure things. But marketing
yeah,
is kind of gray, it's obscure. Nobody knows who's accountable for what. So, what, according to you, because you deal with marketing and related stuff, what is
yeah.
marketing according to you is sales part of marketing?
Yeah, so I think your point earlier was like marketing is hard to measure, and it is. It's for so many businesses. It is hard to measure, but thank goodness we have a lot of tracking available to small businesses. You don't have to be a big business to track every single interaction that's happening. So I we have obviously like you said, we have multiple businesses that we have to fill the pipeline, and then we advertise, right? I could just speak for ourselves here. And then when we advertise, we want to create a report that tells us which source are the leads coming from and what are the quality of the leads that are created. These aren't tens and thousands of dollars a month, tools that we're talking about. These are one hundreds, dollars of tools. So you could track down to the individual contact in your database and give it a source, like the last touch point. Where was the last touch point they connected in whatever social media? I have folks coming to me from YouTube streaming that we do. I have folks coming to me from Facebook ads, so that we paid social. We have folks coming to me from organic search. But I can show that to my marketing team so they can optimize our campaigns better, right? And I think it's a great point. Like a lot of entrepreneurs that struggle with that measurement, of course, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so I highly, highly recommend making measurement a priority, even at a tiny budget, will help you go a long way, because when you do have more money, you'll only put it into the things that works or has worked.
Got it, Solomon. Solomon, and talking about marketing, there are two things that usually small businesses or companies talk about. Is one is
Sure.
organic, and another is paid marketing. Now, I
Yep.
assume the methods that you described now works only for
Yeah.
paid marketing.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It works for anything. So it'd be a referral traffic. So somebody blogged about you, and then they put a link in their blog to your website that says, "Hey, if you want to listen to amazing podcasts, check out Jag's podcast." And then they go to your website and they subscribe to your newsletter because they're like, "Oh, I want to be up to date on all the happenings." Then as soon as I convert, you will be able to see that it was a referral visitor from such and such website. It's absolutely
Right.
insane what is possible, right? Like I believe that every small business needs to have this, especially if they're thinking about growing. Now, if they're not looking to grow, I get it. That doesn't really matter. If you're a growing company and you have, I talked to a small business owner yesterday. They have 23 technicians, right? And they want to go to 30 or whatever many technicians. Now, the only way to do that is if they would pinpoint the marketing channels that are working and double down on investing in that money, right? Like that's what they have to do.
Got it, Solomon. Solomon, I'm just going to narrow down on some of the use cases to, get some flow, how people should kind of, do stuff.
Sure.
You've
Yeah.
spoken, at a higher level. I'd probably want to, narrow it down a little bit. Our
Let's do it.
audience are mostly, academic teachers, coaches, who have small businesses that they, run test prep coaching businesses and stuff like that. Now, one of the things is another thing that I saw was, you start with one, you double, and then, you keep on doubling. You talk about that 10x growth as
Yeah.
well. Now, some of our people, they start off as a one person business man, and, they are the main draw for their students and audience. And
Yep.
then when they grow to a certain extent, there are so many inquiries, they just don't know what to do, whether hire more people or just say no and pass it on to not dilute the quality. What would you have to say to these people?
Oh, such a good question. How did you come up with these amazing questions, Jack? So this is an entrepreneur dilemma, right? Every entrepreneur has to do that. So if you're like me, like you're selling yourself. At the end of the day, every agency owner or every entrepreneur, there's to some degree, even your auto technician guy, you go to him because he can fix your car, right? Like that's the trust factor. So everybody's got to grow at some point. And I think there's two options: either you raise your price and say, hey, I can only take on so much. Like if you were going to have Elon Musk build your car, it's going to be $100 million to get a car. Since Elon doesn't build the car, he builds, machines build it. So you buy $35,000 or 50 or whatever it is, the car, right? So either you raise the price or you have to find other resources, and then you may have to go move into more sales and marketing, and fulfillment gets done by someone else, right? This is these coaches and consultants that we're talking about. They're not the first time they've grown a coaching business. There's the best way to do it is to replicate yourself. So you build a system. You say build a curriculum. Build, here's what you need to go through. This is the learning. Level one, level two, level three, and you teach other coaches or teachers to teach that part, and then you have to get out of the day to day. That's really a big lesson. And if you enjoy the day to day, this is the other folks that says I actually want to do that. You have two choices: stay small and be happy, or you hire the CEO, somebody else to do the growth thinking and the growth strategy and the growth, operations, and then you just become one of the teachers. You're the marketing guy, but also, hey, I have my own class. I have 30 students, and there's 5 teachers like me. Because some entrepreneurs are actually they would rather do the thing, right? They're practitioners. They like the thing that we do, and that's why we started. I always use an example. A person that like to bake is that's why they wanted a bakery. Well, having a bakery and liking baking are very, very different things. Owning a
Got it,
bakery is
Solomon.
entrepreneurship. Yeah, owning a bakery is entrepreneurship. Baking is passion. You could like make the best bread and never make it again. You're happy. But when you're a bakery, whether you like it or not, you got to make the bread every freaking day.
Yeah. No, I got it. I think what you said is if you're not really passionate about teaching and if you really want to grow, you should take the risk and scale it up, train more coaches.
Yeah.
It's doable, it's possible.
Yes.
Got it, Solomon. Solomon, different businesses, although marketing is the same at the core of it, I'd like to, zero down in the, let's say, the teaching industry or, the knowledge industry where people sell their knowledge as a business. What would you
Yep.
say works and what doesn't work from your experience from a marketing point of view? For example,
A-
should they go out and
Absolutely.
put reels on Instagram, or should they, run paid ads on Facebook or write blogs or run affiliate marketing? What do you think works in this
Oh
space?
wow. Such great questions. I love it. This is one of my best podcasts. So Jack, there's a lot of people that are like oh my gosh, I have 10 years of knowledge or 20 years or whatever. So I'm just going to go sell my knowledge. And I have folks, coaches that reach out to me. I mean, these guys are top, top, top in their game. They made a lot of money and they don't want to do that headache anymore because it was a lot of work, but they want to be a coach or they want to be a consultant and get paid for their knowledge. And then a lot of people, what they do is they would go start making courses. They start recording videos and doing all this kind of stuff. And I'm so happy that I happen to be in marketing, Jack. God had a plan for me to be in marketing. But because all these people that actually create the content, how much do you think they sell? How much do you think they actually make money on? Not a lot. Why? Because they don't know how to
Yeah,
market.
yeah, exactly.
Right? So if you're thinking about going into this, I would say stop making the course and the content, the recording and the whatever, website that you're going to buy and host all your knowledge. Figure out how to build an audience. That's the first part. That's what you were hitting up. It's like, hey, why should I buy your product in the first place? Which is all marketing, which is one of the hardest things to do today is to build 7 people that want to hear from you about what you do. And then 7 becomes 17 people. Nobody wants 17 followers. Do you agree? Like everybody's like, oh, I want 10 million. Well, I'm sorry. It's really, really hard. And the reason why this is really, really hard is you have to stop thinking about yourself and you have to think about other people,
Right.
right? If you think about yourself, there won't be any followers. But if you say, hey, I'm going to build the best, whatever, whatever, and I'm going to try to help as many people as I can and start doing things for free, and they'll eventually take note and say, hey, do you have a $99 course or can I get on a call with you? The challenge is most people are creating things not having a clue of how hard it's actually going to be to sell. Everybody has imaginary price points, 997 course. Hey, I've been there, done that, seen it all. However, they end up having to give it for 497 and nobody wants it, and then you give it for 197, nobody wants it, and you'll see an ad $4. Like at this moment, it's like anything. And do you know how much value is in that? It's terrible. Like figure out how I want to sell high ticket. I believe my knowledge is worth a lot of money, right? Like I don't want to give it for $4 or $14, but in order to actually attract those customers, I give away a lot of things. That's what I'm trying to tell you. In order to attract the people that says, "Hey, I'm happy to pay you whatever to fix my, challenge because I know you're the guy. I know your team can do it." Oh boy, let me tell you, the amount of things that we give away to attract those people is insane. So you have to realize, like, are you going to hoard all your information or are you going to give it away? And lots of people want to hoard it because they know the secret to success. But let me tell you, if you go to YouTube, if you go to TikTok and watch a bunch of videos on Instagram, there's more knowledge than you can handle. They'll
Right.
teach you virtually anything you want to do. You want to do this, you can learn that. You can do this. And these folks are literally giving away what people would pay thousands of dollars for courses.
Got it, Solomon. So, what, according to you, is the difference between two people? They have the same amount of information or value that they want to give away, but one of them
Yeah.
is at the end, ending up selling it at $4, and one of them has anybody in your experience succeeded selling something at $997 a course?
Yeah, so 997 is a made up price. I don't think 997 should be like you don't come to a price point 997. I
Right,
believe you have to price your product or service based on the transformation it can have on the person that you are selling to. And
right,
what does that transformation look like? If you help the guy with no job get a job, maybe it's 997. But if you get a girl who was making, whatever to, become the dream, whatever that person was looking for, maybe that transformation is worth $5,000. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I want to do it based on what that transformation is. And let me tell you, the real important part is if they do what you say to do, they should get the transformation. That's the other thing too.
yeah,
You can't sell the transformation and give them just some information,
right, right,
right?
Solomon.
Okay.
Got it. So, let's say, there is the transformation that people want. There is information somebody has, and, they don't have an audience. They need to build from scratch. what would you recommend? Would they have to start organic marketing first, or start with both organic and paid? What would you kind of recommend them
Yeah,
to do?
absolutely. So like logic says organic, right? Logic, because it makes sense that they don't have any money. But are you in business to make $10,000 10 years from now, or are you in business to make $10,000 say 90 days from now? So
90
it
days
really
from now.
depends. Right? Yeah. So then maybe organic is not the right way because it will take a while to build this thing up. And a lot of people in that process, as soon as they hit resistance, they leave. They said, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. And they give up and then they go into something else. And again, not to know that you still need to build an audience. If you want to be an entrepreneur business, you got to do this. You got to do this. There's no way out. So you can't quit and go into something else, and then you're going to be hit with the same roadblock and barrier because you're unwilling to do the thing in the first place. So I would recommend paid if my numbers make sense, which is I am going to be selling $1,000 service and I'm going to get a lead that is somewhat good for $50. Then I could do paid from first week. But if I'm trying to make a person buy something on their website without any sales interaction, without no phone calls, without all of that, you're going to need a big audience because if they don't know you, Jag, they're not going to buy your thing. It doesn't matter
Right.
how much it is, $47 or $4.99, they're not going to buy it because they have no idea who this person is and whether or not this is legit. So the guys that are selling lower ticket items are actually really famous and popular, just so you know. And the people that are selling really high ticket things are more obscure because they're doing a lot of one to one relationship and they know the person and so on. So as your audience get bigger, you could throw a $7 offer out there. People will be glad to pay. It's like I see this guy on YouTube every day, or I see this girl. Like, what's the big deal? $7. But you charge 7,000, they're not going to buy because So, but smaller, more one-on-one access to you, you probably have to charge 7,000 or 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever it is, depending on what you do.
Got it,
Is this
Solomon.
helpful,
Solomon,
Jag?
it is. It is. Going back to the 90-day thing, right? You said if you
Yeah,
want to make money within 90 days or start making money within 90 days, you obviously have to go paid marketing route. And
yeah,
the common people who don't know much about marketing, the only thing that comes to their mind when spoken about paid marketing is Facebook ads, Google ads, and Instagram ads,
yes, sir.
and maybe YouTube ads. Right now,
Yep.
these are direct. You just go to Facebook, create an ad, and run. Now, you say you help people with lead generation and all that. Now, where do you come in
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
in this scheme of
absolutely.
things?
Yeah, so there's obviously different folks are at different stages in their business, right? So if you're spending a couple $100 or you have a couple $100 and you want to try to get some leads, it's a DIY. You got to do it yourself. You don't have money to pay somebody else to do it, or you
Right.
find your cousin or kid, somebody who is. It's a very simple platform. Two calls before this, I was into business manager helping somebody else, right? Like it's not complicated. It's a very, very, very simple platform. In fact, Meta is getting so deep that you can see the leads inside their platform. You don't even need a landing page. They have instant forms. They're getting so advanced that you don't even need a page, a web designer, a host, nothing to run ads to generate leads, right? It's getting that easy. When you get to a place where you don't want to do any of this anymore because your time is worth more than tinkering with Meta, is when you would hire somebody and then you say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore because at this moment I'm losing money by doing my marketing than making money doing my marketing. That's when you actually outsource or you delegate to somebody else. Those are the kind of conversations that we would have. So if they get to a certain stage and may or may not be the right fit for a coach or a consultant or whatever, but when you have a business that's producing revenue and you're growing, and if you're limiting the growth of your business because of your lack of knowledge in the systems and the scaling, then you're hurting your business. You should get out of that role, right? You're the roadblock and the barrier to getting to where you're trying to go. If you had to pick up the phone every day and you have to go to bed at some point, you're not going to grow the company. But if you hired four people to work around the clock to pick up the phone, you freed yourself and grown the business, right? Like, so there is a stage for every entrepreneur to decide not to do some of those things anymore. And you would delegate. It might cost you more, but that's the price of doing business. You got to do what you need to do to grow the baby. That's what I call it.
God, Solomon. Solomon, there are some of the coaches out there, who are tech savvy and have their own SaaS tools as well, which they offer to their
Yes, sir.
students and competitors as well. Now, one of the things about SaaS tools today is, back in the day, building a SaaS itself was a big thing, and
Yeah.
distribution was another thing. Today, they say, if you don't have distribution, first go build distribution and then, talk about having a SaaS tool and stuff. But what
Yeah.
is your answer, to people who are just building SaaS tools because they think it's unique but have zero
Yeah.
distribution?
At this moment, Chat GPT can build you a SaaS tool in about 7 minutes. So again, I think the secret to so many people that are stuck, this is so painful to watch, is that they have to figure out how are they, what is their connection? Do they have an email list? Do they have people that they can send an email and get 6 people to reply or click on it? You see, we're all inundated by really, really good marketers trying to get our attention, because if they know how to get your attention, they can get your money, right? Like, that's the thing.
Right.
And if you're going to try to grow your business, you got to figure out how to get attention. And look, what you're doing right now, Jack, building a podcast, is you learning and executing on getting attention and becoming a thought leader. So for that coach that is desperate and trying to grow, maybe the first thing that you do is help the other person create content about the thing that you solve. So if you're the person that helps people find jobs, then create the best podcast with the best guests that you can. Somebody struggling to find the perfect job or the perfect career, the perfect marriage, the perfect health, the perfect body, the perfect mom. There's podcasts for everything. You got to do that part. And then once you have that seed list of 27 people that, you know, follow you on all the social media platforms, now it's an opportunity to put an offer in front of them. And I promise you, people aren't hesitant to pay as long as they trust you, they like you, they believe that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. They'll happily give you $47 or $450.
Right. And talking about the pricing, $47 or 450, there are people who sell the same thing at X amount of money, and then there are some other
Yeah.
people, the same service, they sell it for 10x. What
Yes.
differently can the person who sells it at X can do in marketing to take it up to 10x, Solomon?
You know, I have a great book. I also have a lot of 10x things that I talk about as well, and I live it.
Right? Oh yeah, I
There,
didn't
there.
keep in mind the 10x when I this just
Yeah, yeah,
randomly
yeah.
happened. Yeah.
So that's a great. So I'm gonna recommend a book, and I really mean every single person that's struggling to make whatever money that they plan on making in their life. There's a book called 10x is easier than 2x. This book is written by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Uh, get that book, and the reason I say that is Dan Sullivan is like a coach to me. I've been in his program for a while now, and he has a program called the 10x program. I know Grant Cardone also preaches 10x, which I think is a lot more mindset. It's about thinking about growth and vision and having this expansion mindset. Dan Sullivan's 10x is actually a very different kind of 10x. He's been teaching it for the last 50 years. That 10x is actually cutting out 80% of the junk that you do that isn't working and only focusing on the 20% that actually has the potential to get to 10x. Those are actual 10x revenue. And so whenever I help entrepreneurs, I usually teach them, like, you're probably doing a lot of things that aren't helping you, but you don't know that because you're not looking at what you do. So you should get rid of about 80% of the things that aren't working. And this happens with a lot of coaches and consultants and business owners, where they add more products because you feel like you're helping people. You're actually making your business more unscalable. This is
Right.
a very, because you don't know what you're going to focus on promoting. If you only had one product, you can go on every podcast and just talk about the same product. But if you say, well, I help single people and I help married people and I help children and I help people with this disorder, well, guess what? How are you going to talk to all those people at scale? You can't. Unless you have like 6 million followers like Gary Vee, it's kind of hard to keep up lots of different, sub segments of market. If you have only 1,000 people, you should just talk about one thing and become the best at that thing. And that's the 10x thinking that Dan Sullivan will kind of break down for anybody that's listening. So my recommendation is to get to that, you as a business owner have to decide, do I want to go up market or do I want to go low market? And
Right.
that's what that 10x pricing is, that I have the same thing too. I only want to work with entrepreneurs that are willing to invest a certain amount of money to work with me. And if they're not willing to spend that money to work with me, they're not my type of entrepreneurs or my customers. So people do what I do for a lot less, but I don't care what they do because it doesn't matter to me, because I don't work with those people. I only work with the people that have this, whatever that budget is for whatever the service is. If they don't invest that much, it's not a good fit. And I'm openly saying that everywhere. So the people that fill out my form genuinely have the budget and the desire and want me to help them. It's a so much easier sales conversation. You see what I'm saying? It's so much easier
Yeah.
because you're not trying to convince a guy who has $47 to buy a $1,000 product. You're telling them it's $1,000, but I still don't care if you have $1,000. You need to apply to work with me, and I need to talk to you and make sure you're my kind of a person.
Right. Got it, Solomon. And
And
talking
then you
about,
raise it to 1,200 and 1,500 and 2,000 until you find the sweet spot where you're really happy. You're very happy because you get the type of customers that you enjoy spending time with and you enjoy working with. Because nobody as a coach want to work with somebody they don't enjoy. There won't be a good relationship. I enjoy working with my people. They feed me good energy. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
and I also know that they care about their success, that they're willing to invest the money to fix whatever it is they want to fix.
Got it, Solomon. Talking about helping people, who fit a certain criteria, people listening to you and, thinking if they're a fit. So what is the budget, or, what's the starting point that they need to look at if they want
Yeah,
to
I
work with
mean,
you?
exactly. So like I said, there's a very small segment of the audience that we work with, and
Right.
so I would probably give you a budget that they should have to work with a marketing consultant. That's probably a better answer. And the reason I say that is, like, everybody needs to build up their budget so they can hire somebody else. I really, really believe that entrepreneurs should not be doing some of these things, no matter how good they are, because they're getting in the way of growing the business. The more things that you do, the more hats that you wear, you're actually not doing what you could be doing. You're not. And the reason I say that is, it's like it's like any entrepreneur trying to do all things. If you're a restaurant, you're trying to cook the food, deliver the food, clean the plates, and you can't take the order, welcome guests. Like, people try to do that all day. I mean, they do that, and I call them, they're failing while they're scaling, because they don't understand that Ford figured this out years and years ago. Division of labor. There's no one guy trying to put the car together. Everybody just does one part, and then the car gets done at the end of it. Now there's automation. There's no human being, I hope. I wouldn't trust
Right.
a human being anymore putting a car. I would trust the machine because they're less likely to make mistake, right? Like, but that is the concept that we should be following when growing a business. So when you get to a stage when you have a $1,500 or $2,000 or $3,000 to pay, it's not a full-time employee because they might need more money. It's like
Yeah.
a consultant that can do it, and they have 10 other customers. That would be a good investment. Like, about $2,000 should be the minimum budget you should save up to outsource some of these things so you're no longer doing it. And that's a day you should be really happy that I now have a YouTube person, I have a funnel person, I have you know what I mean? I have this person. So in my world, I have a lot of those because I
Right.
don't want to do anything. You probably know this, Jag. I don't know how we got together to do this podcast, but it was done by somebody else. Do you agree?
Right. Yes.
Either we found you or you found us. I showed up and it happens. And
Right.
and I leave, and then whatever happens happens, because there's a who behind all of these things. And that's what these entrepreneurs really need to have. They need to have support. So they're not even thinking about it. They're thinking about growth. They're thinking about their next whatever it is, opportunity. They're thinking about what to do to serve their customers at a higher level, not, geez, let's put this cable here and let's crank this thing in and right. Like once you do that, we're working in the business. We're not working on the business. And if
Right.
you're not working on the business, it's not going to go anywhere. I promise you. You can have 365 days. You'll be in the exact same location where you are financially, spiritually, mentally, however you look at it. You'll be exactly where you are. So you got to get rid of all of that.
Got it, Solomon. Solomon, thank you very much. Your message was pretty clear, straightforward to all of the small business owners there. You
Hopefully
need to
not too
start
harsh,
thinking
Jack. Yeah, hopefully not too harsh.
truth nonetheless, and sometimes truth is a little harsh. And I think it's about getting to a point where you delegate everything that's not your skill set. Or even you said, even if you're good at that, you need to focus on, what you are there for, and then, leave the marketing and other thing to the experts, because
Yeah.
marketing itself is somebody else's core job. Got it, Solomon. Solomon, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Jack. Have a great day.